So many innovations are seen as, nah, we don't need that, overhyped. Yet again, another new black that we need to follow. We're not going to do that. So I thought tweaking is not the answer. If we want to make the change, we need to go to the root, the radical change. Radical comes from radix in Latin, and it literally means root, going back to the root. So I thought, let's start there and see how we can go. So I didn't want to settle for small change. I wanted it to be big and thorough and deep into the soul. What was then the thing that all the people in the industry, namely our company, namely our institute, didn't want to talk about, didn't want to say or see or hear? And it was actually a reality check to see what was going on. What we didn't want to talk about, what people didn't want to see, is that there was a prestige loss of academic grades and honors. With so many people, I don't know about Brazil, but in Europe, so many people are going to university. It's nothing special anymore. And so many people get their honors, you know, to get really good grades. It's not special anymore. So the value of that diploma is dropping a bit. The other thing that we were seeing is that the marketing communication agencies were demising at a very fast speed. And that was quite alarming for the students that we were, of course, delivering. Back in the days, in the 90s, just to give you an idea, BBDO, where I used to work, we used to be with around 300 people. And within no time, after the recession or during the recession, it was brought back to 20 people, something like that. I mean, can you imagine how big that change was? And it wasn't just BBDO, it was many other agencies. Some agencies don't even exist anymore, despite the awards and the amazing creatives working there. And the value of creative work, that was also dropping at an enormous speed. Just to give you an idea, the day rate of a very good photographer could easily be back in the 90s or even during the year 2000. You know, a couple of thousand for half a day and even more for a full day. And they needed to drop their rates enormously later on, sometimes even less than half. So there was something going on there that was dramatically changing, and there was no way back. Everybody felt there was no way back. And of course we had the rise of the data-driven marketing, the tools, the artificial intelligence, as you all know. So the radical insight was actually, we're educating students for the past. We don't train them for the future, let alone train them for 4 years ahead, because when they enter the program, we need to deliver them 4 years later. And they better be ready. But they were not. Whatever it is that maybe you were struggling with, I have no idea, in your company, and you want to focus on that one thing to innovate, my advice is to look at the ecosystem and see if something that is wrong within your company is affecting the whole ecosystem, namely others. And it affected eventually even the world, because our students literally come from all over the world. They come from Finland and China. They come from Russia. They come from Africa and Latin America. A lot come from Latin America as well. And when those people go back, those students go back, trained to have this career that they're not going to have because they're just actually not ready for what is going on out there, we have a problem. And I was thinking, it's all nice to have this whole story, but you need one word. You need just one word in the conversation with your people to press the alarm button. So I'm not talking about a mantra here. I'm not talking about this is where we need to go, because that's for later. I was thinking we need an alarming word that everybody can repeat and it resonates. We were training still people to work at agencies, to be the middleman. But what we saw for this paradigm shift is that actually the middleman was dying. The middle managers were dying. The agencies, again, were demising. So it's a very bad idea to train people for agency life if the middleman is evaporating in a way. And of course, it's a bit my mantra maybe, but the Western national lens that we gave to students was of course just facing in one direction. Again, usually it's the United States. And we needed to turn those heads around to the other regions, to the Middle East, to Russia, to China, to India, because that is where it was coming up. So I was looking at I was more on a solo island, and that was of course very bad. I was working together with some people who did some research with me, but they were not really into the whole thing. So I needed one other person. And to make good innovation happen on a small scale first and then going wide, you need a radical innovator, in this case that was me, and you need some Sherpa. You know, and the Sherpa is an expert in the local area, if you like. So he or she should work at the company for at least 10 years, C-level, at least D-level. Knowing the paths, knowing the politics, knowing, nah, this is not a good idea, knowing, but maybe we can make that side turn. He or she needs to speak fluent local, the language of the institute or the company, but also the radical, I must understand the radical innovation semantics, if you like. And then we said, okay, we need one thing, one action that carries this whole paradigm shift and this innovation, and one thing should cause a ripple effect. So, based on the research I did before, together with my colleagues, I've created an international creative business course. And that was game-changing. So it was really one course, 10 weeks, where the whole reality check, the whole paradigm shift was brought to the students. And of course also the teachers in a way, but first the students. And in the first 2 weeks, I think, the students were like, no, 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 no. No, I don't want to hear this. This is the little monkeys again. You know, I don't want to hear this. I don't want to feel this. I don't want to talk about it. This goes against everything that I've learned in the first year, which wasn't the case actually, because we were building on what they have learned. You know, the 4 Ps in marketing are all very nice, as long as you make sure that you can implement them in the right way in the new world out there. And we were doing that, and we constantly took them by the hand and showed them the real life out there and trained them to cope with that. We didn't only train them to cope with that, we also said, you're going to look further, you're going to look in the future. So there were around 10 classes, I think, and we gave every class a region, a country. So we had Brazil, we had Japan, we had Poland, we had South Africa, New Zealand, etc., etc. And every class was working on that region. And every class needed to come up with one creative business from that region that should be in the future, 2025, but was struggling at this moment because of the paradigm shift. And they needed to come up with a concept, an idea, a business idea also, to make that company, creative company, future-proof in 2025. Of course, the other thing you need is a team, obviously. But in our case, that wasn't so easy. So immediately what I did, also to teach that course, International Creative Business, was to get the people from the work field in. So we attracted people from 180, Wieden & Kennedy, Venmo, Uber, to lecture this course. And we were looking for pioneering traditionalists amongst the lecturers. Lecturers who were thinking, yeah, this is going somewhere. This could be interesting. I'm still not fully convinced, but yeah. So we took them on board and we said, this is the benchmark. You don't go lower, this is the benchmark. And you need a curious, pioneering mindset. And we know that you will make mistakes, but you have to reach, in the end, the benchmark. Deadline, okay, maybe 1 week later, but we're meeting the benchmark. And I think that this is, in the very beginning of innovation, to set the benchmark and to really stick to that is very important, because then they have an idea. People need to have an idea where they should go and what the level is of the work. Many people are thinking, I'm redundant. I used to be this, well-celebrated PhD, and all of a sudden I have no idea what is going on anymore. I used to be an expert in my topic, and now I don't know anymore. I'm redundant. And this was getting toxic, because those guys started to talk to each other, and there was a little revolt going on. And of course we understood, but if you're not careful, it gets really, really toxic. So, and of course, you can do a lot of things. You can say, okay, then leave, or you can say, stay, but you have to do this, the more traditional approach, do this. I'm not a believer in that. I think you need to be kind, because those people are there for a passion. People don't just teach to teach. They really love what they're doing. They really love the students, and they really love the topic that they're expert in. So I sat with many of them, and I tried to go back to the passion and the inner drive around the topic that they were expert in. And I said, okay, let's look together where the thing is going in 2025 or even beyond, and how the paradigm shift affected that topic. And with some lecturers that really, really worked well, and they are now even, directing the troops. They are Sherpa themselves in a way. So it can really, not for all, but it can really do wonders. Of course, we also need KPIs. What we said, what we want to have is at least 300 students enrolling. That's the one KPI we want to have. Because if we don't have clients, basically the whole thing stops. And this one is, I find, a good example, because it was created for 9-year-old kids. It was around conscious marketing as a topic. And it shows children how to be aware of greenwashing and how to be aware of conscious living and conscious marketing. And it's very hard to create something that would be appealing to 9-year-olds, but they did a very good job with cartoons and animals and everything. In year 2, for branding, they work with AI tools, the next ad. So they create a social campaign for real clients using this AI tool. They set up an online shop in year 4, and they have to sell or resell. And growth hacking is, of course, in year 4 also a thing that we work heavy on to optimize the conversion, because that's what's needed out there. If we just realize that growth hackers are charging by the minute instead of the hour as a freelancer, it sort of gives you an idea what the opportunities might be. Thank you so much.